John, how much did you sense Saturday that as that game went on, especially the second period, you started to find a little more rhythm offensively? You were starting to create a few more things.
I did feel we were getting more, we looked more like ourselves and in more of a in sync as a group of five on the ice. And the Middlestead line was a perfect example of that. The Thompson, Tuck, Skinner line still is an example of they haven't quite found that yet, but we know when they do, it's going to be impressive. But yes, it was game two, and there's a foundation of some things when you have that many returning players that's there that you can really start building on more. And I thought once our guys start feeling like themselves, it's exciting as a coach. It's a sign that we're moving in the right direction, and I think based on that, the direction can accelerate at a better pace than it did maybe a year ago.
And like you said, it's 2 games in. What do you think you need to see more of from the Thompson line so they start looking more like you saw?
There's as a coach, you're trying to help them. You know that they're going to, at some point, they're going to hit a rhythm, find a stride. I think, quite honestly, when you have 3 talented guys like that, and you think about everybody's rested for 3 months to 5 months to 6 months. So they built all this. Every athlete in the NHL has built all this strength and all this reserves up. And some of the guys that maybe are less talented because they're fresh can keep up with the guy that's more talented. So a lot is misleading at the start of the year, and teams can do the same thing. But as the season wears on, talent just starts rising. And they played, those 3 players. They were like poetry when they, and that doesn't just happen. It could potentially happen in game 1, but it doesn't often happen. So, I think them getting games under their belt in the regular season, they can get back into sync. And for them, it's just a matter of them getting in sync. Now, for us as coaches, we try to help them by picking out some things in clips that maybe position this way or change your mindset here that can help them and hopefully speed that, accelerate that process. And that's why I was excited about games. We finally have some things we can present to all players, and we saw progress in that after day 1, and I think we'll continue that.
I know we asked you about second half so long, but you had 2 assists the other night. What stood out in the 2 regular season games to you? I mean, there seems to be that fearlessness is carried over, and he's clearly not intimidated. I guess what stood out to you?
Well, he's been great since day 1. We've all said that, and we've kind of tempered the excitement, saying, okay, the next phase is main camp, the next phase is preseason game, the next phase is then a real game. And in every situation, and I even mentioned the indicators told us that we should keep him because this is translatable in the regular season, and it's hockey sense, it's awareness, positionally sound. He has offensive gifts, but he's not a liability at all. And usually you got to send a guy to the American League or back to junior because they don't know how to defend in the NHL. They don't know how to put themselves in the right position, or the opponent on the other side is just too physically imposing for them. They need to go back and train and get a little bigger and stronger. He's addressed all of those. He has a very high compete level. He's tough to knock off pucks. He disrupts a lot of pucks of guys that are 30, 40 pounds heavier than him. He'll force them to botch the play. So those are the intangibles that showed in games 1 and 2 that were very effective. And then obviously he has the skill to convert once he does those. But if he didn't have those, he'd probably have to go back to junior if he wasn't. Again, you look at junior players and you think, are they big enough and strong enough, or are they smart enough defensively? He's got those 2 things addressed. I think that we're 0-2. We had 2 games against the same style of coaching that they're very comfortable trying to win a game 1-0 or 2-1, just locked down, and they're very comfortable in that style. Not to say that they wouldn't open it up at any moment, but that's the style they're comfortable with. I think that's great for us to get us back into. You have to earn every inch of the ice. You have to. The details will matter, and you have to get comfortable playing a hard checking game. You know, we know if the other team wanted to open it up, we're comfortable in that game. So I think having those two opponents and those styles of play to start the season are a good thing. Obviously, time will tell, but I think they're a good thing.
But having said that, though, you probably, I assume, expect a little more open ice tomorrow, just like for the reason you said, Tampa tends to be a little more loose,
Yep.
and a little more open.
Yeah, I would expect it to be a little more open. You have Kucherov and Point, and they have talent that can go up and down the rink, and they're confident and comfortable in that. And they've won a lot of hockey games and a couple of Stanley Cups. Very comfortable with trading chances. Now they're missing their number one goaltender, which was a key in the ability to have that mentality of we're willing to trade chances. I can remember 2 years ago we came in here. They gave up 3 breakaways against us in the first period. We had 3 breakaways against them in one period to open up the game. And I just mentioned in this room, we were down, I think, 2-0 at the end of one. And I said, there's not a chance. They went in that locker room and said, we got to stop giving up breakaways. They could outscore their mistakes, and they had him. So they've played that style, and they should have played that style because they're very successful. But the talent they have is still something you have to respect. And prepare for, and we'll just prepare a little bit differently than we would have in game 1 and 2.
Do you think this 4-game homestand allows you guys just to focus on other variables like the game or the film or whatever you are aiming to improve, and at least this gives a little consistency for the next week, something less to worry about?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought much about that. I guess it's still your next game, and you're taking from your last game to try to say, okay, what can you take from that to help you with the next game, and what overall do you have to work on? So whether we're home or road, doesn't even factor in our brain, to be honest with you. Always it's nice to be home. It's fun to be on the road too, but it's always nice to be home, and the next one's at home.
How close is Matt Savoy to being game ready?
He is looking more and more comfortable. Can't tell you how close. I'll have another conversation today to see where he's at, but he certainly is progressing the right direction. There's been not been a setback, which is nice, but I don't have a time frame on him. Thanks.
Thanks.